A Christmas Reflection by Revd Sally Prendergast. Don't wake the baby. It had been a long, tiring day for one couple who had travelled to Bethlehem for the census. Mary was exhausted by the time she and her husband Joseph reached the little town, and traipsing round looking for accommodation didn't help either. Everyone who'd ever been born in Bethlehem was back there and had beaten them to every single bed. The only space left that they could find was the corner of a stable, which was at least warm and safe. But before Mary had chance to have a nap, her tummy started to ache, and after a while, Bethlehem had gained another little life. Mary and Joseph named him Jesus, just as they'd been told to by an angel. Mary was shattered. After wrapping her precious boy in cloth and placing him in a manger, she settled in the straw and drifted off to sleep. Joseph placed his cloak over her and, tired as he was, kept watch. After a little while, there was a tap-tap at the door. He jumped up, startled, and lifted the latch as quietly as he could. The owner of the stable heard that the baby had arrived, and she sent her servant to bring clean water, a cloth, and something for them to eat and drink. "Thank you," said Joseph, "but shh, don't wake the baby." He pulled the door to, praying that it wouldn't creak or squeak. The last thing he wanted was to wake the baby, which would wake Mary. Joseph settled down again. Outside, the wind whipped around the stable, finding gaps and rattling the tiles. "Shh," Joseph whispered. "Don't wake the baby." In the corner stood a cow, lazily chewing the cud. She leaned into the wall and rubbed her rump against the stone, scratching an itch, letting out a gentle moo. "Shh," Joseph whispered. "Don't wake the baby." Sitting on a windowsill was a ginger cat, watching everything in silence, until she suddenly pounced on a mouse in the straw. The cat jumped one direction and the mouse flew the other, and Joseph hissed, "Shh! Don't wake the baby!" Poor Joseph was so tired that he sank back into the straw beside Mary. His eyelids were too heavy and he couldn't resist sleep any more, and he dozed off. The stable was filled with silence as they slept. And then it happened. Joseph let out a snore, a loud and sudden snore as loud as thunder, shattering the peace, even waking himself up in the process. Mary sat bolt upright, and baby Jesus' eyes flew open. He drew in his breath, blinked, and let it out, with what sounded like a giggle. Mary looked at Jesus and laughed. Joseph looked at Mary and laughed. The cow snorted. The wind howled with laughter. The homeowner and her maid came to see what the fuss was about, and they peeped through the window and couldn't help laughing with them. Two men walking by, tipsy from the evening's wine, heard the giggles and roared, though they weren't even sure what they were laughing at. On a nearby hillside, a small group of shepherds were picking themselves up from the ground after a visit from the angels. The angels' song had faded, but they were sure they could hear it turn to laughter. The shepherds brushed themselves off and started to walk down the hillside towards Bethlehem. And to their puzzlement, the whole town was now filled with joy. There was song and laughter and merriment, although no one was quite sure why. They followed a star which was twinkling in the heavens, as if even that was joining in. And they found, in a dark corner, a stable. And as they peeped through the window, they saw Joseph and Mary cuddling a gurgling baby Jesus. It says in the Bible that Jesus' first miracle was to turn water into wine at a wedding. But I think his first miracle was simply to be. to breathe the same air as us, to spread joy to our world, to bring light, hope, peace, joy and love into the darkness. To be Emmanuel, God with us, not just at Christmas time, but every day. May we never underestimate the power of the breath of God. Amen.